all over again. Did y'all know that? Okay.
If you need truth, this is the place for you. Don't need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word is self-approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken.
All right, shalom again, Clubhouse. You guys know what we just did, and guess what? I'm sorry, I don't want to waste your time, but we got to go through it one more again. Those of you joining us from Facebook and YouTube, I was just sitting here chatting, talking, thought you guys were live with me, and found out that you're not. However, we're gonna redo everything I said to the people on Clubhouse, and they got to suffer through or go home. Anyway, welcome to the proceeding word. This is yours, the truth. This is yours, Apostle B.W. Jones. Please, moderators. This is yours, Apostle B.W. Jones. Yours truly. Well, guess what? We want to get some stuff out of the way. Technology can make me great, and technology sometimes don't let you be great. Well, today we want to use technology for the greatness that can be and has the potential to be on the platforms. Very quickly, for those of you who know and don't know, but we have been given an opportunity by the Facebook community to, in fact, be, I guess, monetized. I never go for that. We don't ask for money on these platforms that we are on. We just want to share with you the gospel of Yeshua HaMashiach, how to have a greater relationship with the Father, and how to walk into those things like this subject today, how to find your purpose. So what we'd like for you guys to do, if you really find that this ministry has been of a blessing to you, this broadcast, this vlog has been of benefit to you in any way, if you would help us out. Facebook seems to think that our traffic is enough for them to say, hey, we might be able to monetize you. So we got email, like some of you probably got, many of you probably get it because you all are like all over social media. I'm just some guy teaching, right? But you guys might know more about it than I do. Anywho, we got the invitation. So we taken it and we're going to go ahead and try and see what happens with it. We don't want your money. That's not why we're here. However, you know, this platform, they say that, hey, you got enough traffic, we can monetize you. All right, cool. Here's how they say it's got to be done. You guys got to go onto the VWJ page, like the whole page. And then, in fact, anything that we put up on our page, you guys got to get us some more traffic. You don't have to. I'm just telling you, this is what they say the criteria are. We didn't ask for this. We didn't inquire for this. We didn't put an application in for this. We didn't apply for it. And we're glad that it came to us. I believe in that. The Bible says that, of course, he will bring to you the things that you need. So if he thinks we can be monetized for what we do and how we teach, I think it's wonderful because what we teach is positive. It's not negative. It's about helping people grow and be better and unify and actually have a civility of life amongst our neighborhoods. So, to be said that can be honored with some type of a monetization, that's great. We'll use that monetizing to actually build better platforms for these programs to go even further along. Many people think they've arrived when they get that. I don't know about all that, but I'm glad that we made the bracket. They invited us, so we're going to go into it. We just need your help a little bit. If many of you have never sown into this ministry, because we don't ask you to, but a way that you can sow into this ministry and it not come out of your pocket is to put your fingertips. I know some of y'all don't have active link nails, okay, but if you can get your non-active link nails to make just a couple of plugs on your keyboard, make a stroke, say hello, hit and like the actual Apostle VW's on Facebook, like the VWJ Ministries page on Facebook, and then whatever we post on Facebook, guys, just go in and hit the like sign, hit the heart sign, or make a comment, get traction, and it does something to their algorithms, and Facebook has they get their benefit from it with many programs that they have and they house. And so they say we can make a couple of dollars doing that, and those dollars go right into the ministry, a 501c3 ministry, of VWJ Ministry. They do not come to me. They go to the ministry for the purpose and propagating of scholarships to children, for schools, and scholarships for adults, to programmings for things like KYC, and some other courses that we offer, as well as making better broadcasts, more broadcast equipment to make these broadcasts in excellence. Okay, so if y'all can help us with that, you never sown into the ministry, all you got to do, no money needed from you, just do what Facebook needs and make some traction on our pages, make comments in our threads. And that's what they do. We also have been told that YouTube is looking at our numbers for some reason, which is cool. I know it's a common thing. I don't get into this. My tech people do all this. They just let me know, and I don't even like talking about it. But I got to take that 12 seconds to bring that to y'all's attention. We have been tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, you might be able to make something out of this, and you could use it for the benefit of your company, and our company could use it. Yahweh got us. Trust me, we don't ask y'all for no money, but if they're offering it, hey, as long as it's good money, we can use it. So we'll use it to better the programming and give you a more excellent broadcast. So if you can help us with that by going on to our Facebook page, those of you on Clubhouse, go to VWJ Ministries on Facebook, hit the heart sign, hit the like sign, like the page. Okay. And if you go to YouTube, same thing, VWJ Ministries on YouTube, subscribe to the page and then hit the bell. And you can help us on that aspect as well. And we can carry this type of teaching. Since you like it, I think some of you like it, we can carry this kind of teaching to the rest of the world without being a burden to our pockets and or a burden to our efforts. So that's my spiel for today. Let's get to the word of Elohim. We're here for the proceeding word. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that does proceed out of the mouth of Yahweh or Elohim. One of the greatest things about living in a world of Elohim is knowing your calling, knowing your purpose. As many of you know, and those of you who are KYC, one more announcement. Those of you who are KYC graduates and you're on Clubhouse, what you can do on Clubhouse, if you are a graduate of KYC, you can go to the KYC house on Clubhouse, newly made about 5 days ago, and look to join in. There are things that alumni get and talk about and get into that would be advantageous for your more, forward progress in the faith. You can join the KYC club on Clubhouse. Join the house KYC on Clubhouse when this is over. Somebody will post it for me, I'm sure. So let's talk about today's subject. Very important, finding purpose. Many people think that they do because a prophet came to them or a pastor came to them or the bishop came to their church, this region, this season, and said, I see God doing this in your life and you're going to be here and going to be there and do those things. That's wonderful. However, to know your purpose is something that Yahweh innately placed inside of you. Each one of you were born with it. Every one of you are called to a purpose. You can find that in Ephesians chapter 4. Many people have told you that only certain people can be the apostle, or prophet, evangelist, pastor, or teacher, but the Bible declares, and Paul made it very clear in Ephesians chapter 4, just go read it. He tells you that to every one of us has been given grace, a power, an office, according to the measure of the gift of Messiah. And so there is, when you were born, a gift, an office, an actual purpose instilled in you, whether you are a prophet, an evangelist, a pastor, or a teacher. All of you are born like one of those. Now, how you operate in earth, you always will operate under that guise. You'll just be working on the enemy side, or you'll be working on faith Elohim side, but you will always be that thing. And some of you, having that born in you and working it, not knowing it, still take on other responsibilities that false prophecies and false leadership and church organizations throw on you because of the organization's need to have an office of work filled. And you're so willing, in some cases, I hate to see it, gullible, to just do whatever need to be done so you can be down and prove your loyalties to whatever faction or segment or sectism there is. Okay, let's get past all of that. The point is, you have a purpose in this earthen realm. And it's more important to know that Yahweh has already put that inside of you. You do it naturally. I never knew in my dope boy days that I was doing what Yahweh created me to do in his garden tilling days. Yeah, I'm tilling the garden now. But I never knew everything I did in the dope boy stage, making sure my neighborhood ate, making sure all my captains got paid, making sure their families were taken care of when moms lost sons to gun violence and to opioid or crack addictions or whatever happened in our neighborhood, in my region, what I had some kind of a lordship over. I made sure that those families were taken. We did all. I never knew I'd be doing that on this side of the cross, this side of faith. It never hit me until I understood that you and I all are born to do a certain thing. So your fivefold ministry gift, whether it's prophet, evangelist, pastor, or teacher, you're doing it. Now, I want to be very careful because that's a broad stroke, and many people will take that to mean, oh, I prophesied last week, so I must be a prophet. Sit your butt down somewhere. That does not mean you're a prophet or a prophetess. Sit down, learn something, and then consider walking after you've sat down and learned something. So just because you prophesy does not mean you're a prophet. The gift of prophecy, an actual gift of the Holy Spirit, that's found in Corinthians chapter 12. That's given to every man to profit man, to make man in his job of your fivefold ministry gift to do it well. It works like the military works. You know, you go to a branch of military, whether it's Army. I'll use the Army for this ministry, for this sake, for this analogy's sake. You go to the Army and you get into the Army and you go through basic training, right? And in your basic training, they already have you earmarked for a particular MOS, meaning military occupational specialty. However, you got to come through basic training. Once they get you through basic training, you have this element called general issue. So they give you general issue boots, general issue guns, bayonets, machine guns, hand grenades, camouflage, helmets, water, socks, blankets, housing, food packets that you take with you. They give you all these general issue things. So 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 1 through 12 speaks about those general issue things. They are given to all in the military, all in the kingdom, to profit them along their purpose. That is their office. Now your office, now your military occupational specialty, that's what you find in Ephesians chapter 4. So I'm going to take you from Ephesians chapter 2 up to chapter 3 to show you just how significant that office as opposed to those gifts. Speaking in tongues, interpretation of tongues, interpreting of dreams, word of knowledge, working miracles, word of wisdom, prophecies, all that stuff. Those are general issue things that the military, we're going to call that Ruach HaKodesh for right now, puts on a person and as it's needed, and then takes it off a person if they don't need it. But your office, Ephesians chapter 4, verses 1 through 12, that's the reason you exist in the earth. And though you have that innate ability, it's not a talent. That is your purpose, to be a teacher, to be a pastor, to be an evangelist, to be a prophet. Those things, and at certain points, you matriculate through them all selflessly for the purpose of the kingdom, and you can come into an apostolic element of having been considered a sage of all of those particular offices, and now you're you're a sage, you're an apostle. So that's how that works. Now, Christendom, there are a lot of different variations of how people see the fivefold ministry. What I just broke down to you is the closest and most accurate to the Hebraic intention that the Torah ever gave us. And you can go back as far as Adam, you can go back as far as Abraham, to know that fivefold ministry has always been Elohim's intention. Yep, just go back to one of the sacrifices that Abraham made, and you'll get to see what exactly Elohim had intended. Now, when we hear Paul talking about in the book of Ephesians, he tells you that you are either you have, unto all of us have been given this gift by the measure of Mashiach, which is Adonai in flesh, right? So now that you know that and you have that, understand that that's an office you live with. You can't get away from it, even if you tried. Even if you tried to be confused in your gender, you can try to be confused in your role as a spouse. You can try to be confused in the role you play inside the church and how you want to be an activist for your community, how you want to be like bishop, you want to be like prophetess, you want to be like the singer over here, you want to be like the psalmist there. You can try to be a lot of things, but you can never escape who you are. And the problem within ministry and within Christendom at large, as well as the globe, because it's just not a ministry and Christendom thing. Every single solitary person on the planet ever birthed, coming through a birth canal of a human given from the loins of a man, you are instilled with one of these gifts: prophet, evangelist, pastor, teacher. You just using it in whatever arena and genre you find yourself most active in. But when you connect to the genre that the creator designed for us to be in, i.e. his faith of his Torah, your gift now starts to, watch this, make room for you. Our problem is we have to find our purpose. And some of us are trying to find our purpose by searching after people who have levels of success externally, where it might be monetarily some kind of success, or as it were with autonomy in that success. And you have people that are moguls and people who are billionaires that people want to mimic and mark the steps of and walk after them, but they may not have any scruples. They may not have any moral compass. All they know is money. So mammon is their God. So you got to be careful thinking that success and trinketries at pseudo levels is the anointing or is a person's purpose and calling. Too many P's. Whew, that was a tongue twister. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that you are born to be an evangelist, to be a prophet, a pastor, or a teacher. It's in you to do. And each of them are in their administration, have to become capable of teaching what it means to be a teacher, teaching what it means to be an evangelist, teaching what it means to be a pastor, teaching what it means to be a prophet. And guess what? None of them have to have a church to do that. They don't have to have a chancellery that they paid for elaborately. They don't need to have a pulpit, i.e. a sacred desk, which if you're in a church, there is one. Stop disrespecting it and dancing on it and pushing it over. And then also, having a set of pulpiteers that you call on and lean on because you're trying to find out how many each group is pushing. Doc. So there is purpose that many of us have in us, we have yet to uncover. Again, uncover. Because when you were born into this world and you may not have come into the desire to know the intentional instructions Yahweh put in you, implanted in you, you began to mimic church. You began to mimic whatever faith system. You began to mimic whatever social ills and injustices that you want to sort of kind of champion and be activists for, and you think that that's your purpose. And though they are good deeds, they are proper for civilization to have equality and or justice, because that's better than equality, because Yahweh did not make everybody equal. Yeah, a teacher's different than a prophet. A pastor's different from an evangelist. You're not equal. None's greater than the other, but you're not equal. And if we can get rid of that narrative, we can start breaking through a lot of the other holdbacks and fetters that keep us from becoming uniquely and specifically identifiable as us. Now, Yahweh has done that. That's why he put his word in your heart. He put his word in your mind. And when you hear truth, suddenly you begin to click with it. And you're like, I don't know why I know that that's true, but it is true. You might not even like the presenter. You might not even like their presentation, but you can't fight what they presented. You might not like the way it was colored. You might not like the way it was emphasized. You might think that the person is arrogant, or you might think the person is just too monotoned, or they just have no lust. They have nothing to lust after to make you push that, but you can't fight the information given. This is one of those moments. All of you have been called into earth. When we talk about being called, I'm called to the ministry. No, you're not. You're called to life. How dare you say that, Mr. Apostle Man? You've been called into life. You ain't been called into this. You've been called into life. And when you came into life, there was already instilled in you a way you operate in life. All of you have been called out of darkness into his marvelous light. Did you obey? Some did, some didn't. As I think Minister Wanda would say, when I finally really got saved, I'm not even gonna mess with her about that, but y'all get the point. Some of y'all know what it means to be, well, when I finally really got saved, because you was in church a long time doing saved stuff, but when it really finally sunk in and you really got saved, you learned how to throw hair dryers and shoes and you learn how to get slain in the spirit, and then have the napkin ministry as all your resume. Y'all get what I'm talking about. But you are called into life. And when you came into life, Yahweh already equipped you with everything for the life he designed you to live. That's why it says, all things work together for good to them who love Elohim and are called according to his purpose. So your calling is Yahweh calling you out of what is the spirit realm into this natural time continuum called time. So eternity, Tracy Wade said, I got saved 30 times. Tracy, I'm with you. Many of us more than that, okay? Some of us. But when you were called into this earth, there was inside of you your purpose in the earth. So that's what we now have to learn how to reference as calling. So when Paul was talking about that in the book of Ephesians, he was letting you know that, you've all been called and been given grace, which is power. Grace is the power of Elohim. Grace is not the unmerited favor of God. Mercy is the unmerited favor of God. That's what mercy is. You didn't merit mercy. Mercy and merit go together. Get it? M-E-R, get it? Mercy and merit go together. So you did something that merited you death. The wage of sin is death, but the gift of Elohim, something you did not merit, is eternal life. Now, when you go after sowing your seeds of unrighteousness, now you're going to reap the account that should pay you for your unrighteousness, and that would be death. When you realize you were working for the wrong team and you then repent, confess your sin, you're asking Elohim for mercy. And that's why you sing the song, Mercy Said No. That's the unmerited favor of Elohim. Somebody shout mercy.
Mercy. Mercy.
But grace is the power of Elohim. That is that concrete thing you can stand on. That is that illuminating and or that enveloping issue that protects you and helps you walk alongside. In the Greek, grace is associated with a word called the paraklete. That means it's something that walks alongside of you, holds you up. The grace, we call it saving grace. The grace of Elohim is the power of Elohim to keep you from actually falling into things that make you require mercy in their end. So if grace can keep you from things that make you call for mercy, then that's the power of Elohim to hold you and keep you on the right path. So grace is the power of Elohim, not the unmerited favor. Mercy is the unmerited favor. So Paul says in Ephesians, Elohim has graced each of us, not a couple of us who are in the church and where the man of God and the woman of God, they're the one that God had called. They may be the ones that he has set, but there are so many more people in that same organization with the exact same calling as them. Your church, your organization, your job, your basketball, football, soccer, volleyball, swimming, polo, crochet team, your spade team, your pinochle team, your whatever team you on, your dominoes team. Everybody has one of the callings: a prophet, evangelist, pastor, a teacher. And the issue is you're going to use them ignorantly or understandably in your life. Every single solitary day, moment, and minute you awake. You are doing what you're called to do, whether you are saved or not saved, whether you're in Christendom or you're in Islam, whether you are in Zen or you are in Hare Krishna. No matter what faith system you're in, your purpose, that innate thing that you do without thinking, is always operating. The issue is getting that aligned with he who sent you in the world to do his bidding. Yahweh created humanity to come in and till the ground. We unfortunately are doing everything but tilling the ground, though we are mining the ground, stripping the ground, reducing the ground, to deplorable states, demineralizing the ground and not replacing the minerals, not harmonizing with the earth, not being tranquil with the earth. And then we're reaping the repercussions of extractions without replenishment because we don't know our purpose and our calling, but we've made up stuff we want to be. And now we've made that the gospel as to who I am. So I'm called to do this. You are not called to sing. You are not called to preach. Preaching means proclaiming, watch this, a teaching. Proclaim and teach, 2 words broken down to one. That's what preaching is. You're proclaiming a teaching. The question is, what teaching are you proclaiming? So preaching is not a calling. Pastor is, prophet is, evangelist is, teacher is, and apostle. But you got to understand, preaching and singing are not callings. Preaching, singing, and being an usher is not a calling. Being a hostess is not a calling. Being an artist is not a calling. Being a musician is not a calling. Being an accountant is not a calling. Being an attorney or an activist is not a calling. It is something that becomes your calling card, but it is not a calling for the kingdom. And the kingdom is what makes the world work. And until the world gets infusion of kingdom intention, the world continues to crumble, as you and I now seeing the effects of it globe wide. Now we talk about finding your purpose. Is this helping anybody, or am I just screaming at my microphones and cameras?
It's helping. It's helping. Yeah.
So your calling is something that is innately placed in you by Elohim. No pastor, prophet, evangelist, or teacher, contrary to what you thought Paul said in Ephesians, can lay hands on you and then place it in you. Well, Paul told Timothy in Ephesus that stir up that gift that was that was given unto you by the laying on of hands of the presbytery. Me, your mom, and your grandma. That's not what Paul meant. That's how the English translates that. That's not the intention of Paul's Hebraic statement to Timothy, a Hebrew, and his mother, a Hebrew, and his grandmother, a Hebrew. Timothy happened to have a Grecian father, so he was made, and they were made to live in Ephesus, a Grecian nation, but his mother and grandmother were in fact Hebrew. They understand Torah before one of the daughters married this Grecian, and in Greece they are male dominant, basically male chauvinistic, but their government was different. Paul met someone who had his backdrop that when the Ephesian church asked for people to set the order for how this conversion should work, because now they're convicted that Yeshua is Savior, even though they were Grecian, they served the demagoguery, they served this Grecian mythology. Now they're like, okay, that's not true, but this story of Yeshua, we understand him to be the Lamb of God, the sacrifice, the repudiation of sins. We want to know better how to rock this, so somebody come and teach us Torah. That's why Paul, Timothy, his mother and grandmother started the best church that you have in that New Testament called the Church of Ephesus. Unfortunately, Christian, I'm not breaking it down to y'all like that, but I promise you that's the truth. So the reason that Ephesians had such a good report in the book of Revelations is because Ephesians was seen and overseen, one, by Paul, who is the resident theologian, and he knows the Torah better than probably most of them. And then he has a pastor, not a bishop, a pastor he left in place there, and his mother, the pastor's mother, and the pastor's grandmother all knew Torah, which Paul was bringing back to their forefront. And Timothy was sandwiched between his mom and grandmom and the apostle Paul, teaching him Torah so he could lead the people. Then Paul tells Timothy, if anybody that you are a part of, and you're indigenous to that land of Ephesus, if anyone in that region is wanting to help you disseminate this message to the masses that you have the attention of, they desire a good thing. And because they desire a good thing, you need to make sure that they possess this criterion before you set them up to minister, serve on these types of things. They must be of one spouse. They must be of not a filthy lucre. They can't be bribed. They got to have some sense of character and integrity. I'm paraphrasing. I can give it to you literally, but I don't have time. So then he says, and they must be capable of teaching what it is that you are disseminating to the masses, and it has to come out verbatim. So that's when you see someone saying, hey, Pastor Timothy, over here in Ephesus, I got another group. We're in the same, we're gathering with you, but some of them are asking questions because of our dialect. So I can help with that if you'll train me and teach me. Okay, they desire a good thing. Timothy will take those bishops, which are really basically elders, meaning older, more mature people, not just physically and age-wise, but spiritually age-wise, who literally are converted and convicted of the teachings of Torah, and now they're learning it for the purpose of disseminating it and having a better relationship with the Father, producing the commonwealth of the kingdom of Elohim in that region. This is a part of finding your purpose. So those people who approach you about helping to disseminate this message, they desire a good thing. Here's a criterion. Put them through the office of the deacon, meaning a place where they can minister. And the word deacon is Grecian, not Hebrew. The word deacon will be more associated to the word talmudim, meaning make them your disciples, train them like Yeshua trained his talmudim, i.e. deacons. But because Christendom is so deep into the Greek, we don't understand that deacon is Greek for talmudim. Talmudim is the word you use also from the Greek now into the English for disciple. But deacon, if it somehow got hailed as a higher capacity, hailed in some greater state, so now you think deacon is an office. You ain't been called to be a deacon. You come through the office of the deacon to graduate into full proof of your ministry. So when you are considered a deacon, if you've been a deacon in your church for 25 years, I hate to say it, your church has left you to be a spiritual fidget because you're not supposed to be a deacon for 25 years. You're a talmudim for, at least in the concept of its true draw, where it comes from, the proper construct. You are a talmudim, you're a deacon, you are a disciple, even with the rabbis for 3 years. Even with Yeshua, the rabbi of all rabbis, he only had his talmudim for 3 years. Paul, though he was out there in the deserts in Asia Minor, once he came to the point where he had what we call to be the road to Damascus experience, when Adonai, his faith, confronted him about what he was doing with the other Levites, all of them fell down when that bright light came around them. And then Adonai, the bright light, showed them that Yeshua was the person that Elohim sent to redeem them. And you guys are persecuting, and you've killed him, but you're persecuting the people propagating him. Paul shamed. Oh, I can't believe I did that. Oh, forgive me. Lord, who are you? It is I, Yeshua. Lord, what would you have me now do? Now, I just broke that down in 30 minutes, something that takes churches forever to get that going. So if you, again, have been given the calling, oh, I'm a deacon, I'm called to be a deacon, I'm called to be a deaconess, you are unfortunately misguided, and I don't come for you. I want to come. I don't come at you. I come for you. I come to help you understand that you're a deacon. You're in the office of a deacon so that you can prove faithful to the innate calling within you. Timothy, watch the story. Timothy, if in fact these bishops, that's a Greek word, these talmudim that you're teaching, if they come and say, we want to help you reach everybody in our group, because pastors need that help acclimating and orienting everyone to the doctrine that the Torah or the faith of their organization is putting down, so everybody can have it in commonwealth. Now, you might think that this is some rant that we're on. It's not. This has everything to do with finding your purpose. You can't find your purpose just in the organization. You find your purpose by sitting in an organization teaching you the intentions of his word. Without faith, his word, it's impossible to please Elohim. Elohim made you. Elohim gave you purpose. Elohim is telling you how you please him. And you can't please him just doing church things. You can't please him just sitting at the door and ushering and handing out an offering plate and offering an envelope, or sitting there and doing napkin ministry. So the organization you're sitting in is supposed to teach you faith. Faith then becomes something you work out in your world, in your life. And then there are people who are like, hey, I'm getting it. And some other people are asking me questions. Leader of our group, can I help you disseminate this information to them? Leader of the group says, yes, certainly. Come and sit with me for a while. Let me teach you what I know unfiltered, and then you can help to disseminate this. And so we don't have any breach in those connections with the set between me and you, which you sit between me. They're going to hear me at large, but then there might be times in the week they have to ask questions and they can't get to me. They can get to you because you are indigenous to their area. And now you are talking the same thing I'm talking, because you and I sit down and we talk several times in a week. So we're not talking two sides of the mouth. We're not talking two different faith systems. You're not talking about communion and I'm talking about Pesach. You're not talking about Christmas and I'm talking about Sukkah. You're not talking about Thanksgiving and I'm talking about Sukkah. You're not talking about Easter and I'm talking Pesach. We are talking the same thing. And whenever they're not hearing me, hearing you, just like Yeshua said, when you hear me, you hear the Father. When you hear my Talmudim, my mentee, you're hearing the words, I'm also accountable for teaching you. This is what Paul said when he says, look, if anyone desires the office of a bishop is basically an elder playing big brother to the other and new converts who are younger in the faith that are coming in under the teachings. If anyone desires to be a big brother, big sister to you, the parent of the group, then take them under your wing, get close enough to them to identify their lifestyle. If they're a drunk, you can't use them. If they're, married to 5 different women or 5 different men, you can't use them. It's not that they can't be divorced, but they have to be a spouse of one, right? Not that they have been married 5 times, 3 times, 2 times, 1 time and divorced. It don't matter. They got to be married once. So just because a person was divorced does not mean they can't be used in ministry. Did I say that loud enough? Okay, let me go back to the story. So when Paul tells Timothy, if anyone desires to be a bishop, they desire a good thing. Bishop simply means acting like an elder brother or an elder sister when the parent is away. Can I get some emojis on my page that say, wow, exclamation marks, big hearts, hearts of fire, dropping bombs, some kind of nuclear weapon, something, please. I just need some help. I think I talk too fast. I got so much I want to give y'all. And I hope that my fast talking doesn't leave you in the dust. The good part about this is that it's recorded. So you can go back and watch it again. And then you can make comments because y'all gonna help me, right? Cool. So when he says, if any person desires the office of a bishop, they desire a good thing. That's a good work, because you're trying to help people that don't know what you know. And then you're helping them get it from where you get it from. You're not trying to make them follow you. You're not trying to make you their Lord. You're helping them learn what you're learning. And when they have questions about what you all are learning together, you can be the bridge between to get them to a place of comfort until they can get to the leader and get that place of grounding. And this is significant to understand. Paul was breaking this down very clearly. So when you realize this, any man who desires the office of the bishop, Pastor Timothy, my son in ministry, they desire a good thing. So again, it puts us in this issue where Catholicism has a system called Christianity that we are all a part of now. Though we've repurposed Christianity, we are still a part of that construct. Now you got to understand what happens next is this, that the Catholic Church gave you this bishop thing. They made it a diaconia thing. They made it an ecclesiastical thing. That's all Grecian. The Hebrew for Ecclesiastes is the book of Kohelet. So to be Kohelet means that you are a Talmudim. And a Talmudim, i.e. disciple, is one who follows a rabbi. So when you took the Grecian render for ecclesia, the Kohelet, meaning the called out ones, They kept that Greek and English and post Messiah, but prior to Messiah, there was no ecclesia. It was a kohelet. And the kohelet was them who were called out. Well, who was called out? Israel was called out. How were they called out? Because they kept Torah. Did they do it well? No, they did not. Did they botch it up? Yes, they did. Did Levi get fired? Absolutely, because there is now a new high priest who's not Levitical. Our new high priest is Uda. He comes out of the tribe of Uda, not the tribe of Levi. So Levi got fired because they didn't keep Kohelet right. Now, by the time the Catholic Church picks up and uses the story of Yeshua to create the religion called Christianity that they used in their efforts to colonize the worlds they conquered and bring them into some moral compass that could say, we'll bring in some of the stuff from your religion, but here is our overall faith, and we'll let you do some of the stuff you do inside of that, a little bit of your ideology, a little bit of your, idolatry, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and that's called Catholic Christendom. And that's what you and I protest as Protestant Christians. Most Christians don't know that. So what I'm talking to many might become a monotone blur and bore. But if you understand this and you have some theological grasp and you've come through some sense of Bible study, some sense of Bible school, some sense of Bible teaching, it may click to you. Much of what we do is under a construct that was made from a multiplicity or a polytheism that got covered by a monotheism. And if you don't know that, you really need to know your Christendom. Therefore, in all you're getting, get understanding. Therefore, study to show yourself approved unto Elohim. Become a workman that need not be ashamed, but one who can rightly divide the words of his truth, not the words of Christendom. So in Christendom, repurposed, here you and I stand. Not coming for it, but I'm not coming at it, I'm coming for it, so we can learn what we're doing. I hope that was a good enough spiel for you to make a reel out of it. When you take the purposes that Paul gives to Timothy, if they desire the office of a bishop is not what the Catholic Church has made it, not even what you call in your church. Timothy is a pastor. Can y'all say Timothy's a pastor? Can y'all say that? Say Timothy's a pastor.
Timothy is a pastor.
All right. Now, can you also make this very clear that the Timothy was being talked to by Paul the apostle? Can y'all say Paul was an apostle? Say that, please. Paul was an apostle.
Paul was an apostle.
So Apostle Paul is talking to Pastor Timothy about a bishop, which was not the Hebrew word. He was talking to him about a talmudum. He was talking to him about a person who wants to take responsibility for helping to disseminate the message Paul and Timothy are trying to get to the mass who wants to be converted to Messiah. So if you should run across someone who wants to help you do this, the office of a bishop, which was not the name of it when Paul called it. Paul never said bishop. So Timothy, pastor, under the sage Paul. If anyone wants to help you get this message over to their family and their neighborhood so that they can come and fellowship and learn more from you at the time, as long as I'm absent, they desire a good thing. That's a good word. There is your church growth. There is your church expansion. There is your evangelizing. If anyone desires the office of a bishop, to play elder, to play big brother to these people in the neighborhood, and until they can get to talk to you, then they desire a good work. But notice, Paul, apostle, talking to Timothy, the pastor, is talking about a bishop, a talmudum, and the pastor is ordaining the bishop. Not the bishop ordaining a pastor. We've repurposed bishop because of a language translation issue. I get it. But don't ever confuse that with Paul's instructions to Timothy and act like that was Elohim's intent. For your Catholic bishop, of a polytheism to come in and now use the story of Yeshua, the story of our faith, to say we are bishops over your pastors and we ordain your pastors. The devil is a lie and smoking crack in somebody's kitchen, and y'all need to go put the fire out. I'm just putting that out there as a funny. Maybe it didn't go, maybe it did, but I did it. I said what I said. So there is no bishop ordaining pastors. Well, bishopric means, I don't want to hear it, theologian. I got the same degrees you got. Listen, the bishopric is a statement from Grecian, but to put this and use this passage as the validation for a bishop is an inaccurate one. Paul's intentions were not there, and the translations left us desperate. No bishop should ever be ordaining, because a bishop is only a talmidim. A bishop is only an elder, unordained, mind you. Paul, apostle, sanctioned with Timothy, an ordained pastor, is telling him to look out for people who want to be helpful in spreading and disseminating this gospel. Bishop, by Greek. Now, when you understand this and you process this properly, you now don't find yourself in these conditions of thinking that pardon me, guys, I just hit my ring, that the things that we have said and taught and, oh, the bishop this, the bishop that, I don't disrespect that. If you have a bishop over your organization, it's because of the repurposed word. But we're talking about the intentions from the actual origins that we are saying is why we have bishops. This is not why you have bishops. You have bishops because the faith of our Savior got kidnapped by Catholicism. We're not coming to fight at that. I am coming for you so we can understand how that looked originally and how we got left in left field. Everything that we do, everything that we understand must become purposed within the intention of the Father. So your calling is not to be a bishop. Your calling is not to be the right reverend. Matter of fact, holy and reverend is his name. When were we going to pick up on that? Holy and reverend is Elohim's name. Why would I take Elohim's name when that holy belongs to him? But in Catholicism, they call the Pope, or they call whatever, they call them the Holy Father. That's a problem for me. It's a problem biblically. But the people who talk about the Bible think that that's okay. And we just sort of kind of walk past that, like Elohim didn't see it. And like he's not saying the same thing. Holy is my name. Reverend is my name. So the right reverend did that shake some of y'all a little bit? Maybe a little bit, just a little bit. Right. Holy and reverend is Elohim's name. Why are you taking his name like that? That's not what you do. But that's what Catholicism did. And that is how you ended up with that element in Christendom. Now we repurpose Christendom because we are Protestant Christians. We protest Roman Catholicism, but we still have the construct of Roman Catholicism, and we moved out a couple of items, but we kept everything else, like the wrong way to do communion, like Christmas, like Easter, like the solists, like Lent. None of that is of our Savior. None of that is the faith of Torah. None of that is the faith of he who hung on the cross. Not one of those items I mentioned are. But that's the construct of Roman Catholicism that we protest as Protestant Christians, and we still keep moving in the thing we protest, which is amazing to me, our level of incoherency there. I don't understand how we keep letting that at large just stay on us, and clearly knowing it displeases the Father. But your calling is not to be right reverend. Your calling is not to be your eminence. Your calling is not to be a bishop. Your calling is not to be archbishop. Your calling is in Ephesians. You're either a prophet, an evangelist, a pastor, a teacher, and you can matriculate into becoming an apostle because you've lived through all of those offices selflessly in service to the ministry that is helping the people have a better relationship with the Father till we all come in the unity of the faith. Get it? That part. Now, to leaders within Christendom who think this conversation is more destructive rather than helpful, I respect you. I love you. You're still, if you're Bishop such and so, you're Bishop such and so to me. That's what it is. I get it. You didn't know what you don't know right now. Because most of the bishops I talk to, once we explain this to them and they see it for themselves, they're like, man, I didn't know that. But if I try to take away bishop from my office, I'll destroy the church. And they will. They tell you, if I do away with communion in my church, the way the word says it, now that I get it, man, these people will walk out on me and call me a heretic. They will. Oh, they'll fire me because I was hired by the deacon board. If I tell these deacons they ain't supposed to be deacons for 30 years, I'll be messing with their job in the church, and they're gonna fire me quick because they're not gonna get fired. They hired me. You know, they will get together and congeal about that, and they'll escort me out like lint on a flood. These are the realities. So to all of my theologians and everybody, I'm not coming at you. I'm coming for you, so you can know these are the truths of how things are supposed to be done. Are y'all learning anything, or y'all think I'm just having a rant and a rave here? So when we talk about knowing your purpose, that requires you to sit in the word. For without faith, it's impossible to please Elohim. Timothy was being told by Paul, if you find people that want to help, they desire a good thing. Here's the criterion for what they must do. Put them in school. What? Yes. You use them in the office of the deacon so they can prove their faithfulness. So the office of a deacon, on many accounts, particularly the ones of interest to me, is 3 years. So you can prove to the leadership you are going to disseminate rightly. You're going to speak what they're speaking to the people, not your own version of it. If we find that you are inconsistent with that, if they find that you are incomprehending, not comprehending all of it, though you have a good heart to want to help disseminate it, we have to also make sure you're speaking it rightly. That's why any leader of any organization has to be careful about anybody speaking from their platform anything that's in error of what this house teaches. Well, he trying to just stop my voice. She trying to stop my voice. No, they're not. They're trying to make sure that there's only one voice coming out of this particular bullhorn, which you say you want to be a part of. So that makes you one of the volume mechanisms on the bullhorn. And if there is any static in what is coming out of the bullhorn, it's because of the volume mechanism, how it is broken. And it's speaking one different thing when everything else is speaking something, and it's causing static. So the people hearing out of the bullhorn are getting mixed messages. Some like, what you say? Well, I thought I heard them say, no, they said this. Well, I thought I heard something in there. And that something in there is the person's who is not comprehending the message from the house, but though having a good heart, wanting to go out and be the missionary and tell the world what they think the house is saying. And that is where there's a problem. And this big problem is a major disconnect. And it comes from, usually it's not the pastor, it's the messengers in between the pastor to the congregation in the congregation's practicality. Now, what's that got to do with finding your purpose, Apostle Jones? Well, I want you to understand that all of this is significant because until the house is unified, until the house is all doing the same thing at the same time, it becomes difficult while putting out all these different types of fires to help everybody focus on what they innately are. Though you are innately doing you every day, though you are practically doing the innate abilities of you every day, you never identify them with your purpose. That's why there has to be one voice in the house. And if there's not one voice in the house, you give every ADD, ADHD, spiritual, disconnected, easily distracted spirit something else to look at rather than what is being the main vein of the house. Again, static in the line. Am I teaching all right to y'all? I hope I'm helping y'all.
Yes, sir.
All right. Right on point,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So when you put yourself in the proper position to want to know your calling, to make sure you're hearing the word and not other words or others' words, but you're hearing the word and you are putting yourselves in the proper position of being on one accord. Now the body is moving together. So to do that, you have to assess those wanting to help. And usually they got an idea of their calling by the time they've stepped up to say, I think I understand my calling. I'd like to be under better and closer supervision so that when I do speak, which is natural for me to do to those who are indigenous, or I'm indigenous too, I can be accurate with the message of that platform. That's really what Paul was teaching Timothy to do in a letter to Ephesians. It wasn't about pomp and circumstance. It was about education of the mission, i.e., the message, to get all humanity reconciled to the Father. The Apostle Paul left information and Torah. Timothy understood it to some great degree. Mom and grandmom were there to help him sort of kind of pack what he couldn't think about, get right. They would teach it, and then others would help him disseminate that to the masses that could only gather so often. See, because what people fail to remember is that they didn't go to church every Sunday. So if they were out there working their fields and working their cattle and their heads of cattle, they might not have gotten back around to him. But if someone like this person who stood up to be an elder, stood up to be a bishop to help Timothy, because his group of people works midnight to whenever, and this group of people works, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and this group of people works midnight to midnight, they don't always cross paths. So they can't get to Timothy to get the questions answered. So these people are saying, hey, I'll be near them, but I'm also near you. I can help them understand what they missed in service, what they missed in our conversations, what they missed when we broke bread. Because they didn't go to church every Sunday. Timothy wasn't pastoring a church that went to church every Sunday. And even if they had cell units, when they would come together and gather in the homes and teach from the homes, breaking bread, as you hear in the book of Acts, where they went from house to house breaking bread, very common. You and I call it today cell groups, which has basically been perverted because it's just a gathering and a corralling point to basically convert people by virtue of having friends and families, like any pyramid scheme, come to your house and listen to what we're teaching, and maybe you will buy in. I'm not completely appalled by the idea, but it does not fit what they were doing when they broke bread going from house to house. And that's what we try to call it now. So now you got cell groups in Christendom realizing, hey, that could help get people to come to our church. That's not what they did when they went from house to house breaking bread. They went to houses that were believing in the faith. They went to houses that were a part of the faith. They were not interested in inviting other outsiders in. They just broke bread at different houses because they would study, because all of them that broke bread were all believers. And then people would naturally be curious, where are all y'all going? But we're going over here to study. You can come if you want. It wasn't a, hey, we're coming to house such and so, here's cell group A, and cell group A has elder such and so, elder such and so, and elder such and so, and elder such and so. And all of you should invite your family and friends to come to our cell group. And then whoever sticks on the next time, they should invite 2 people. This is not a Pantene commercial, but that's how it's come off in Christendom. So now it's like a come into my parlor, said the spider to the fly. I said that out loud and I got, hold on, all 10 toes down and my heels are set down too. That's not what they did when they went from house to house breaking bread. But the point of what I was getting at was that this is why Paul told Timothy, if someone wants to help you disseminate this to the people who are hearing about the great news you're teaching, but can't get to you face to face, you at least have these individuals who can disseminate the message until they can get to you. So when you do talk to those people who have used this midway point as their source, that things will click for them in a much more efficient fashion. You just got to make sure that midpoint is speaking what you speak. Did that help anybody?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, it is. Amen.
Yes, sir.
So when you understand what Paul was talking about, now you have to understand what these guys were doing. To be a bishop meant I can probably help to orientate some people. Oh, you know what? I was telling such and so about this over here, and that's an evangelist. The orientator is the pastor. Someone else says, you know what? I'm good at making sure that people get this point. I get that mathematic. I get that schematic. Let me reduplicate one and put it down here. So if anybody else comes in, I can help them skip the point of headache that I had until I wrote this down, and I can teach this to them in a better way. So once the pastor orients them, then I can break it down for them at this level, all of us in the same house, and now we build the body. So just because I become a teacher and the set teacher, just because he or she is the pastor and the set pastor, and just because that person is the prophet or the prophetess, the set prophet or prophetess, we all, and the evangelist might be the one out in the marketplace all the time talking, and they bring people back and we sit and chat with them. The pastor orients them. Then I actually, in fact, break it down for them and show them what it is and get them rooted and grounded in the faith. And they know the same thing. We're all teaching the same thing. And then we're just building on top of each other. And though we might be the set prophet, evangelist, pastor, teacher, we're also looking out for others who have that gift in them. Now, we're not going to tell them their gift. We're going to let them have the issue of, hey, I want to help. Okay, cool. We who are set may see your gift you don't know you have, but none of us are going to prophesy. Yeah, I see you. You actually a pastor. You actually a prophet. You're gonna be a prophet. We're not doing that. We're prodding them into an area and seeing how they work around certain people who are the set man or the set women in those offices. And then as they gravitate, we watch who they gravitate to the most, and then we help that person they gravitate to cultivate them until they, the person that is asking to help, can see without any coercing or direct telling them what it is that they do best. And then once they resonate with that gift, helping them, because all of us are going to help them, but that gift that they resonate to the most is usually the gift that's within them. So if they are someone who is always saying, yo, I went to this new restaurant and this restaurant was good. Yeah, it's over on 3rd and 12th Avenue, 3rd Street and 12th Avenue. Man, we got to go over there. We got to go over there to get some food. It is so good. Really? You went over there? I went over there twice, man. You should go. I promise you. You like French fries, don't you? Yep. Them French fries is good. That's an evangelist. That person in your community, that person in your congregation, that's an evangelist. I don't care what nobody say. If you then got somebody who's always saying, yeah, well, we got to look at it this way. Well, I mean, how far is it to get there? You know what I mean? I mean, you said 3rd Street and 12th Avenue. I mean, bro, we got to go through traffic. That's a pastor. Always trying to orientate people as to where the heck they got to go. Guaranteed. Then you got the prophet like, yeah, well, let me pray about it. That's the prophet. Just leave that alone right there. It's a whole new world altogether. They always got to be dragging their feet about going because they want to make sure they ain't wasting their time. Then you got the teacher. Well, technically the cost of the gas getting there is going to be X and so. And if you go to Exxon down the street here, the gas will be cheaper Exxon than Mobil. And then we can also hit a thoroughfare there. That's an expressway to get us to 12th Street. And we just got 3 blocks to go to 3rd Avenue. And therefore we can do that way. And once we get there, we can do our time more efficiently if we would in fact call before we got there, so that, and then tell them we want a reservation. So what I learned to do is call before I got there, make my reservation, because it has been busy. I heard about it. Evangelist told me about it. I called up there and the place has got all these crazy reviews. They always say it's slow. So you got to make sure you call your meal in when you call your reservation for your seat in. And this way, when you get there, you can almost be served within 15 minutes your meal. Just tell the waitress, hey, I called my order in. We decided to sit down, and therefore in our sitting down, we were efficient because now our order is coming out to go, and I could just tell the waitress, hey, just put it on plates rather than the carryouts, and we Gucci. That's a teacher all day in America or the world. I'm just telling y'all what I know. That wasn't, I gave y'all some revelation right there, and y'all just sitting there looking at me like, what I do? You know what?
You right on it. You right on it.
Thank you, Pastor. I know you get it. I'm just trying to figure out. And people, some of y'all you've been just the nature of it. But every one of you must be apt, capable to teach what it is you are and you do. Did y'all realize how I brought that full circle to finding your purpose? You thought I went off on a rant talking about Timothy and Paul? Because if you don't understand that storyline, you're never going to understand what comes next. You know that means that Friday we're going to do part 3, right? Do y'all want part 3? Was part 2 filling? Did you learn anything? Because we're not done yet.
Yes, part 3 is good. Give us part 3. Yes, please.
We're not even done yet. We barely scratched the surface. But if you want to find your purpose, these little pieces, these little breadcrumbs bring you to the house. Tracy, what's your question? Can we trust gravitation method, Apostle? Tracy, I got to understand what you mean by the gravitation method. Man, I wish you were. Y'all still with me out there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
With you.
I want you all to help me understand. I don't think I understand gravitation method. I think I lost y'all. So Tracy, what do you mean by gravitation? Gravitation method. Oh, you're talking about when I was saying who you gravitate to. Can we trust that? All right, let me read what I found out about gravitational method. The gravitational method is used. This is coming from the United States Geographical Survey of the Government. So this is a governmental documentation giving a definition for gravitational method. The gravitational method is used to investigate density variations within the subsurface at depths of several meters of tens of meters, as in depth of bedrock investigations, or at depths of several kilometers as the sedimentary basin thickens investigations. I don't think that's what you mean, Tracy. I think you meant, no. I think your statement means, can we trust the gravitation? Because I was talking about who that person would gravitate to most when fivefold ministry gets around them. And you can trust it when it's originated with no malintent. And what's that mean? It's also vettable because the people around the person trying to be of aid are not going to be trying to pull them. They're just going to sit there. And then you're going to literally see that, okay, let's just put this to task. You got me, you got Elder Rogers, you got Apostle Walker, you got Prophet Michael, you got Pastor Mary. Okay, that's 5 people, right? So if in fact, Tracy, you're just coming into the faith and you are very content, you are really convicted, you are really, your convictions are as we are teaching as a model of the the instructions of Elohim, right? So you're like, hey, whoever the pastor is, in my area, people can't get here, but some have come and they're trying to listen. They're waiting for the replays and all that like that. But they got questions when I'm at work with them. I want to be able to help communicate the message here that I'm learning to them rightly. And sometimes I can be in my head. So I want to make sure that those who have been affected by what they came here and learned don't get drug away. Not that I'm trying to keep them saved, but I want to help. If they got questions and can't get to you soon enough, I can, plug the gap until they get to you. That's what that whole passage of Timothy and Paul was about. So Tracy, if that person is you're the person who wants and desires to be a bishop. All of us in that 5, myself, Apostle Walker, Prophet Mike, Pastor Mary, and I think I had Pastor Spencer. If all of us are there in all of our proper offices, right? We're just going to be making sure you get the word. The more you sit around any of us, we're going to be like, hey, they like the word. They always got a question about the word. They're always trying to figure out around what to do and then how to cross-reference it. All of us are just going to feed you the word. But you're going to gravitate to one, not out of flesh or, because your heart is pure. You're not going to be doing it out of, lust for a person, or a man or a woman, or lust that you want to be powerful like that woman, or lust because a man looks good. You're not lusting. You're not doing that. You're just, everyone is always answering your questions above board, in character, in the integrity of the writ. And we're going to notice that we're all going to know what your calling is. Those of us who have made our callings and our elections sure, we're going to always know after a period of time what another person who has not made that identifiable yet, what their calling is. And we know not to tell you, but we're all going to watch where you gravitate to. So if the apostle, and y'all don't realize I'm watching everyone who's in our ministry, I watch how they gravitate and who they gravitate to. And if it's a weird, perverted gravitation, because it's not right, someone's pulling them, I'll let you know. Be careful of all counsel you take. You got a question, sit with me via telephony or via video, and let's answer your questions that way. And then there will be certain other people you may communicate with, fine, but make sure, and I may, we all know back and forth, my eldership anyway here, that, hey, give them only the word. Don't give them your opinion. Don't get caught up in gossip. Don't ask them to give you, we know these people I just mentioned know to give you the word. And we also know your calling. So we're going to be like, okay, how they gravitating. If I find out they're calling Pastor Mary more often, they're gravitating to that which is kin, because birds of a feather, they flock together. Now, they may love Apostle Jones because I may be the head. They may love Apostle Walker because she's also a head elder, and Pastor Spencer. But all of these are leaders, and we're all noticing that they gravitate to Pastor Mary, who is also a leader. And it's like, okay, we get it. That person, and I might know that they're more pastoral than anything. They're always trying to orientate. And when they ask me questions, it's about orientating. It's about helping the person to understand it, right? And you got to watch it to make sure it's not trying to break it down and make up new schematics, right? Because that's a teacher. So I realize that they're trying to appease the questions and comfort the questions of the other people, and not make the mistake until they can get those other people to where they themselves are learning. Like the one at the well, come see a man, right? She told all of it, but she said, come see a man who can tell you more, right? Okay. Let me tell you all about this, but come see a man, right? That's how that's supposed to work. So that bishop is doing what the woman at the well does. Now, when they bring them back, or they try to ask these questions and their questions come back, and then they got more questions coming to the leadership, you find that they may contact Apostle, but they'll say, well, Apostle's really busy, and Pastor Mary's gift, the pastor gift in her, we're also quicking with the pastor gift in that person, especially when it's integrally done the way we're doing it. That person knows they can come to any one of the leadership that is set in that office, and they start to talk, and all of them give them back the word at any given individual time, or corporately, you'll realize what that person's gift is. So in that regard, under an integral and under a character building type of organization, you can trust it. But like anything else, anything can be perverted, in an organization, and you have to watch who people are. So back to this other story, or the same story, Tracy, in a different way of how the leadership has to check the leadership to make sure the leadership's not pulling somebody. Okay, so the leadership is saying, and myself and Apostle Walker, myself, Pastor Spencer, Prophet Michael, or Pastor Mary. If Pastor Mary is always trying to coddle, you, Tracy, and oh, I want to bring you under my wing, I got to watch that. Apostle Walker got to watch that. Spencer got to watch that. We're like, why are you coddling? Just let them gravitate. A baby will gravitate to where it knows its heart is and its calling is. The gift will make room for you. Don't try to make room for a person's gift. The person's gift will make room for them. You understand? So when I'm watching, if Pastor Mary, which she's never doing, she's trying to coddle and, oh, I want to be your mommy, or I want to cover you, I want to hold you. I gotta watch that, because you could pervert a pure soul, innocent soul who is getting good information from you, but you're trying low key, and maybe not even understood to you, but maybe because you came out of Christendom, the default to make people follow you still exists in you. And though you might be understanding kingdom, you're still operating in church and Christendom. So now they come to me, they ask me all these questions, and you're letting us know, hey, well, Tracy called me, and hey, well, Tracy called me, and I'm calling Tracy. Well, why are you calling Tracy? Let Tracy call. And if she's got a question, let the question fall to whoever can get back to Tracy. But when you're calling Tracy back, I got to watch and see if you're not pulling Tracy. And though we all may know that Tracy's calling as a pastor, you should be the least one returning the phone call, because you want to make sure that is an organic draw for them. Y'all know this is deeper than y'all thought. Y'all know Apostle goes through this when I'm talking and dealing with each and every one of you who are citizens of the kingdom. I don't just cover you, I watch for your soul. Does that make sense, Tracy? Am I making sense, Tracy? I don't know if Tracy's getting words.
I was just covering your soul. I'm not Tracy, but it makes sense to me.
Okay, cool. Tracy, thanks for letting me use you too for this teaching scenario. I hope that it was edifying to many people. And that's what it is. So the gravitational, it is suspect. It is suspect, and it has loopholes that can be hedges that have breaches. But that's based on everyone. Anyone and everyone can mess up a process, and depending on what hit them, made them feel weird or whatever, they could say, well, I like talking to Pastor Roche better. I like talking to Pastor Spencer better. Okay, that don't mean that's your draw. I like talking to evangelist such and so. That don't mean that's your draw. When the questions come, you're like, they explain it better, because it's a part of your gift. Some of you like talking to such and so because even those who are set in office still have defaults of gossip, still have defaults of judgment, still have defaults of anger management. And you can have those defaults too and be dragged and attracted to that, right? So, that's not it. So when you sit back and you've been doing this long enough, you understand how to watch and pray. Not try to control people, but like you might not want to eat that much chocolate. What you mean? Well, chocolate is good. I eat chocolate too, but you eat a little bit too much of that chocolate right there. So that's how I would qualify, Tracy, the gravitational method. If you are in a ministry, which we are one, that literally cares for you to have a better relationship with the Father by knowing your calling, those things make a big deal of difference. Now, many people might not like that. They might say, it's impossible to do that. I promise you it's not. I've done it at every level. I've done it at 100 members and 1,000 members. I've done it at, many more members. And there is a process and a way that gets done. The issue is you making sure that those that are with you all learn and understand the same process. And yes, will you have somebody who always They're with you for a minute, and then after a while, they start to make sure people gravitate to them, and they learn how to sort of kind of be clandestine in that. And then one day you wake up and they've drawn 15 people away. Yeah. But the issue is, if they've ever really learned, watch this, it's just like the prodigal son. When they come to themselves, they go back home to daddy. They realize that whoever drew me away was doing it for their own efforts and their own benefits, and they may have been doing it for their benefits. They may have been hyped up and saying, you know, he gonna hold you down, he ain't gonna never ordain you, she ain't gonna never put you up, they gonna always act like you less than them. And that's not it. We just know sometimes certain people can't handle certain weights. You might look like a full-grown man, but when you get in the gym, you can't lift an 800-pound bar. You think you can because you see somebody who look like you doing it. You will break your back, and I got to make sure you don't do that. So let's start with this 45-pound weight. And let's build up to 800. And you might realize at 220, I ain't gonna get 800. It ain't gonna happen. Shoot, you're right. You get what I'm saying? So now you realize your eyes is bigger than your stomach. But when you start doing this stuff practically with people who are trained to keep you and build your strength, you will be able to know I max out at 200 because that's all I need to carry for me to be completely efficient in my life of carrying responsibilities. Y'all not gonna say that was good or nothing. I'm not trying to tell y'all what to say.
It was powerful.
But when you hear people like me, especially if you don't like the way I talk, because I don't care what nobody think anymore. He don't rub your back when you get hurt. No, I'm not gonna rub your back if your knee got hurt. I'm gonna rub your knee, put chloroform on it, get you some Neurosporin, put a Band-Aid on it, and send your butt back out on the playground. You good. I'm not gonna rub you back while you sit there. Go breathe. Stop all that and breathe. Take one deep breath. Ain't that better? Yeah, that's better. Okay, cool. Now go play. If you walk 5 feet away from me, go, he didn't give me a hug like my last pastor. You are in the wrong place.
Oh, that's right.
It is so quiet. I'm sorry. I had Apostle T.R. Malone train me. And she was a mother and she was a teddy bear, but she kept it a bean. Get up. There was a quote, and this is going to sound like really rude. It's not, but it had me laughing one day because of its truth. And it said, here's a big cup of get over it. Now you can't get over everything. I'm not saying that. It was just the humor of it. Here's a big cup. Let me draw you. Let me pour you a big cup of get over it. Wait a minute, hold up. Here's a straw so you can suck it up.
That's sweet.
I was like, oh, that is hilarious. I want to put that on a t-shirt so bad. But as a pastor, you do that, they will have you literally tarred and feathered.
Because they can't handle it.
I'm going to love you enough to get you and make you tough. If I make you soft and I die, you're done.
Facts.
I'm going to say it again. If I cover you, and in covering you, my hard shell makes you soft, when I'm dead, you're exposed, you're too soft to make it in this world, you now are somebody's dinner.
That's right.
What you gonna do? Some of y'all moms, I'm telling y'all right now, y'all better stop coddling your boys. Every time they turn around, they in trouble. You doing something for them and dropping it in their lap. When you're dead, they're gonna have to figure out some kind of way. You better make sure. I got 7 minutes. Can I use them?
Use them.
Sure. Go ahead. Get right.
Can I give y'all some get right? Good. I like that. We're gonna get some get right. Listen, it is best for you, parent, who does not know how to separate after your children have grown up told you they grown, and you nearly had to put your foot on their back to kick them out your house because they told you they was grown. They're going to smoke weed in your house. They're going to drink and come in and creep in your house. They're going to mess up, use the electricity of your house, and act like they grown and tell you, I'm grown. You can't talk to me like that. Well, you are no longer mommy. You are no longer dad. You are no longer parent, mom and dad together in the same home, single mom, single dad home, or a co-joined home. You at that point have a tenant.
That's right.
And if they work down at McDonald's and telling you they grown and you can't tell them what to do in your house, you charge them rent. That's too practical. Let me break it down a little bit. So the moment you keep doing for your child because ain't nobody else gonna help them, ain't nobody gonna do for them, listen, what's gonna happen when you die? What if Yahweh takes you tomorrow? What they gonna do? Have you, in the time you have had, given them tough scenarios that they got to figure out, but they're figuring it out with you as the last ditch effort and resort to fall back on? You're not going to let your child, whether they're disobedient, they think they know every daggone thing or not, you have to let that child get to the point where they got to figure it out at their wits' end. You are their wits' end, but you ain't letting them use their wits. You just let them come right to the end. Oh, I'll help you. I'll figure it out. No, stop. Because when you're gone, ain't nobody else out here going to do what you do, mom, dad. They better figure it out while mom and dad are alive so mom and dad can help them navigate better. Oh, y'all didn't think y'all could leave here at any given time and they still gonna have to figure it out? What they gonna do when you dead?
That is true.
I think if you dead and they don't know how to handle life, you failed as a parent. Not you, me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that to y'all. Let me say it to me. If my children fail when I'm dead, I'm a poor parent. I need to oversee them figuring problems out, not figuring the problem out for them. And I don't care if they get evicted. They'll never be homeless because I'm alive. But they got to figure out how to get back up on their own horse, get back in their own house, get their rent back on, get their electric back on. Y'all don't want to talk to me. Y'all going to leave me sitting there by myself on this program? Y'all going to make sure I don't get monetized by Facebook? Mm-hmm. That don't stop me from being mommy. That don't stop me from being daddy. But that will stop them from being a man. That will stop them from being a woman. If you're going to play mommy and daddy when they full grown.
Teach them how to fit.
They will never be full. And now you wonder why they with an abusive brother. Because he see the little girl in them still waiting on daddy to fix it. That's why she calls him daddy. Ooh, daddy. I like it when you call me Big Papa. What?
Oh, no.
That's where it come from. Y'all don't like it. I like it when you call me Big Papa. Put your hands in the air. You a true, you know what? Because daddy hasn't taught his girl how to change the oil, how to change the tire, how to get her credit straight, how to make sure she knows how to feed herself. How to make sure she knows how to be a boss chick out here making moves. How to protect herself. How to fatally defend herself. So she relies on another man that looked like her dad who ain't taught her the skills that dad has. But this guy looks like my dad. He acts like my dad. He even talks like my dad. But he don't love me like my dad. He will use me for himself because he has the kind of power my dad has. And if your dad does not have control over how he uses his power over people, then this joker is going to manipulate you into 15 years of servitude to him. And when you finally come out, you're going to be like waiting to exhale, and you're going to be flipping cigarettes into cars with gasoline and clothes.
Right, literally.
Well, nothing like truth.
And moms, if you keep cooking for him, and if every time he get into a situation with his wife, you let him move in and come over to your house and stay, well, you come over here and stay a couple of days, because I never did like that. I almost called her a heifer, but I never did really like her anyway, baby. I told you shouldn't. No, send his butt back over there. That was his choice. Let him deal with his choice. If he can bail out of his decisions and commitments using you, you're not a good mom. That's my baby. He ain't a baby. He's 32 years old and he is making babies. He ain't your baby.
It's crickets.
Ouch.
He a man. He told you he was a man when you had to put his butt out. Now, 2 months later, oh, my man, he out there in the streets. Yeah, he told me off, and I had to pray, and I had the church pray, because he was smoking weed. But he stopped smoking weed. He ain't drinking no more. And so I miss my baby. He's still my baby. I'm always a mother. No, you are only a mother for a short period of time. After that, you become a matriarch. Act like it. There's a difference. Somebody better put some exclamation marks up on this platform and threads all over this place. An exclamation mark. Mommy. Now that's why he talking to his girl. She over there trying to take care of him, because the girl he with got daddy issues. She looking for a daddy, and now that she's serving him like she served the daddy, now she, hey daddy, he like, hey mommy, and then she cooking him dinner like mommy do, and doing his clothes like mommy do, and picking up his drawers that he dropped in the hallway on the way from the gym, like she calling him mommy, he calling her daddy. Ain't none of them growed up talking about we husband and wife. You still boy and girl.
Playing house.
Playing house. Some of them playing post office. They don't even know what house is yet. They just see what they did at the post office.
Is it a drop by and pick up your mail?
Yeah, stop by and get your mail. Hurry up. Y'all okay? This is the preceding word. Man, I shall not live by bread alone, but by word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh Elohim. I love having autonomy of my own show. That's right, Tracy. I don't think everybody caught what I said. Moms, you are mom, or you are a dad for a very short period of time. The majority of your life, if you have children, you are to be matriarch or patriarch. Know the difference and know the shift. When you become a matriarch and a patriarch to your offspring, you become a bag of wisdom to them. Your job when they were under your roof, before they told you they was grown, probably because they overstayed their welcome, because you didn't want them to leave, because you needed somebody to serve, because you got your own issues about. Okay, anywho. So once your child is gone, I'll just use for general number for most of you 24, because that's all the years they need to get their master's degree out of school. Don't let your child not get a master's degree. Stop settling for BAs and think they did something. If you got an AA, you barely got a GED. Y'all don't want to talk to me, do you? Okay. So let's just say 24. At that point, your children should be on their own, and you have 24 years to be mommy or daddy. And then from 20 to 24, you're weaning off, because you're about to transition into matriarchy and patriarchy. which means I'm no longer hand to mouth feeding my child. I have to become a bag of wisdom for them when they're trying to figure out how to feed themselves, and I become their fall safe. Let them fall. But when they fall, they got to hit the ground. Now, the issue is you keep them from falling off the cliff. You don't keep them from falling. Because if they don't fall like they were a child walking from the crib, they got to fall in order to learn how to get back up and walk.
Say it again.
Was that too much information in one day?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
That's right, Tracy. Tracy said it shifted. My son is now running our family meetings. You parents have to put your children. My children have been totally empowered. I deal with my offspring as because they're so good in their genres, in their disciplines, in the areas that they are in. My son on the internet, that's my dude when I can get him. I got to pay that joker like I got to pay any other IT guy. You hear me? That's why I'm mad at Facebook right now. They keep charging me, telling me that our broadcasts are going to be stopped because my son, who owns the copyrights to all of his music, because we taught him that, and I had to pay to have my son give us theme music for all of our programs, and they're trying to tell us somebody else has the copyrights to it. Facebook, get your act together. I own all the copyrights to my music. Take that crap off of my broadcast, please. Thank you very much. So I got to pay him because I treat with him like he a businessman. My daughter, an attorney soon, and a accountant, master's degree in from Wharton, MBA. Hey, I got to pay them to do, if I need stuff done, I got to pay them. They are adults, they are professionals, and I am not to say I want mommy daddy discount. If I'm mommy daddy to them, if I'm their father, then I should be the first one patronizing them at the price points for their services before their peers and before the people who are guests. If I support my child, I should be supporting their pay list, not talking about I raised you and all them Pringles I bought for you all over the years and all them cheese balls that you liked and I always had in the refrigerator. That is not payment for your future, y'all. You can't go back and then talk about I'm going to cash that in. That's not a cash in. You pay them their rate. I remember my brother was alive. Earl, Pete, miss him. Birthday coming up soon. Matter of fact, just passed. Anywho, yeah, coming up. And so he would cut my hair and my son's hair. And then he'd be down in the basement. Granted, he was bootlegging it, but he was a real good barber. And his life didn't allow him to go and get his license and everything because he was always in and out of, some things for a period of time. The man was a great guy, great person, loved, help anybody he could, but he would cut hair in the basement, make good money doing that. So I would take my sons over there and myself to get our hairs cut. And he'd be like, yo, we out. I'm like, hold up. What you mean? How much I owe you? Oh, man, you my brother, man. No, man, if I'm your brother, I'm not going to do you like your fake friends. I support what you do. You do good work. I got to pay for what I get. These jokers charge me X for this, X for that, X for the other. So if I ain't got to pay them and you're better than them, I'm paying you full price. And since he couldn't come up with a price, he didn't know how to pay me or charge me. I went to their price list, found every high and elite price that they had for everything that they did, that he did to me, and gave him the top dollar for each cut for each of my sons and myself. Now I said, now, if you want to bless me, you can give me back half. I'm good with that too, but I'm going to give you first because I support you. You got bills and children to take care of as well. You can't keep giving away your talent even to your family for free. So y'all people in your family, stop thinking that you're supposed to get a discount because your family member runs the show. How about you support them until they can get in an autonomous position that at any given point, you still pay for their services, but they give your child a scholarship to the best schools in the country when they become participants in college? How about we help them get there, and then they can help you get where you're trying to go later, but instead you feel like you need a discount today. That's some tomfoolery and some Thomasina foolery all in the same bag. That's right, Harris. You pay him and support him and his business. If that's what they do, they went to school for it, they have studied for it, they paid courses for it, got certified for it. Mom, dad, you better be the first one shelling out the elite list and getting the best plan that they got and supporting them that way. Telling them do it for free for me. I got the hook up. No, you messed up. You need a hook in you. Get out the way. Move. Get out the way. Get out. They could be making money wasting time on you. Nah, I don't believe in that, Apostle. That's my child. You talking about some crazy stuff. That's why the people are, and whatever. Think about it. If it was you, how many times you complained about the people that you gave your services to and they ain't pay you? Next thing you know, you in the shop trying to get a spa day talking about, and Clarice, she always coming over talking about, can you do my hair the last 2 minutes of the day? You know I'm about to close and go down. And y'all, stop it. Pay your children. That's if you train them to be bosses. If you didn't, shame on you. That's why Yahweh gave them to you, so you could train them to be human, not to be your forever perpetual slave. Your children owe you nothing because you fed them Cheerios and cornflakes and cinnamon toast crunch. Is that what it is? Is it cinnamon toast crunch? Okay.
Cinnamon toast crunch.
I got the hookup. No, you messed up. Your children owe you nothing. That's why Yahweh gave them to you, so you can raise them. Your raising them is what you owe Elohim. Raise them into what, that's your job, mom, dad. Elohim gave you a job. Did you know raising a child is tilling the ground? We talking about finding your calling. I'll come back to that another day. But I'm going to say it again in case the people in the back can't hear me. Did you know raising a child is tilling the ground? That's what Yahweh created you to do.
Absolutely.
Till the ground. Make sure this sap becomes a fruit-bearing bush, and then Yahweh will pay you for the harvest that you helped create with this that he put in the earth.
Yeah, it's a part of your garden.
Do y'all get that?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
You around here talking about my child gonna take care of me? No, Yahweh gonna take care of you. You get the child to where the child can do what you're supposed to do in the earth, and they can do it too. Help them understand that it's Elohim who elevates, but your job is to bring them into adulthood, and they owe you nothing for that. But it's hard when you don't know, because the way we've been taught is, I brought you in this world, I take you out this world. Okay, I heard you. I don't know if that's what you want to say to Elohim, but you can say it to your child. Parenting is a job Yahweh gave you. He picked you to bring that child through. You had nothing to do with that child turning out the way it turned out, looking the way it looks. That's all Yahweh. That's your job. Again, finding purpose. When we come into childbearing with the preconceived idea that we own the child is our slave, you have messed up everything kingdom for your life.
Wow.
And for those of you who are thinking that you got to go by the government standards of having 2.3 or 1.5 children, there is no such number about childbearing. I don't know how you can get a 0.3 or 0.5 child. You can't even get that if you had a dog. Y'all do know that if you have a dog, you're basically telling Elohim, I don't want to raise a child, I want to raise a pet, because you're going to pay the same thing.
Oops.
Crickets? Did my stuff did it freeze? Hello?
No, it's perfect.
It's perfectly fine.
Y'all do know that, right? There is no 0.3 child. There is no 0.5 child. Well, in America, you can be 3/5 of a man, but yeah, I should stop and let y'all go home. All right. So let me just drop this next nugget. Finding purpose. I'm not even touched what we're gonna talk about Friday. Y'all still want me to come back on Friday? Because I can end it here. Because y'all know this is serious for me. Would y'all like me to continue or?
Yes,
Continue.
Yeah, Tracy, that's right. It's been an honor raising mine as well. And to raise them, and they know that they don't owe me one thing. And I tell them, you owe me nothing. Don't come back for me. If I should find myself in some weird medical condition and it is your desire to come and help me because you feel I raised you right, cool. But I need to put myself in a position that no matter who is on the planet, I've taken care of me, Yahweh's taking care of me, and the physicians, my insurances, they know what to do. It's not your job. I am not a burden to you, and I want you to go live your life. You're not carrying me around as a knapsack and me hindering your life. Oh, I mean that from my very soul. My children are going to take care of me. I get the culture we were nurtured in. I get the phraseology and its ignorance that we have been sold and been pushing forward. But that is not the kingdom. It ain't. That's what knowledge of good and evil has rendered to the mind of humans. Because your job is, like any other plant, to produce. What apple tree goes back to the tree it came from to help the tree?
Wow, what an analogy.
Now that apple can go somewhere else, be eaten 12 blocks over, and the seed of it be dropped in the ground 12 blocks over and make another tree. Yes, there are those apples that fall from the tree that didn't get picked. And they do fertilize the ground around the tree. Absolutely. But the purpose of the fruit is for the farmer and the beasts of the field and the humans of the field, for nutrition of them in the exiting of the body and the stripping of the nutrients from the fruit that was produced. The ecosystem and the recycling system benefit all the earth. Your child was created to bless the world, not you. And if the world gets blessed by your child, then you become a recipient of your child's blessing. So for those of you who think that you should have 2.3 children because your personal budget is how much you can afford, you have made a horrible deduction of the kingdom of Elohim. You have as many seeds as your body can produce. I can't afford all them children walking around here, have me around here barefoot in the kitchen for the rest of my life. The devil is a liar. Yeah, but if one of your 10 children you potentially can have becomes the next mogul on the planet, then what you gonna say? I looked at all. Can I say this before I go? I had 7 minutes, but now I got 4.
Yes, sir. Let us have it.
I looked at Magic Johnson. He is one of so many children. I looked at Lil Wayne. He is one of so many children. You have some unique scenarios where a person's a one-child family, but most families, most of our big, particularly African Americans, and even some of our other non-melanated people, they have come from large families. And just one of 5, one of 7 their gift gets picked up. Your children are blessings, empowerments to your family. And if you raise them right, one of them having a witty invention of Elohim could get picked up and taken up, and that blesses the whole family. But you trying to have 2.3 children because your little bit of money and your budget can't support that. When you bring children into this world, Yahweh gave them to you. That's not irresponsibility. Your irresponsibility was the joker you had it with, man or woman. But if your body is producing them and they're coming out, if your semen is producing them and they're coming out by rubber or no rubber, or by contraceptive or no contraceptive, Yahweh trusts you with that particular human. Raise them, rear them rightly. Forget about your goals and aspirations and give your concentration to them. Who knows what Yahweh will do with them? And because you had to pull out of your vision and your plan, theirs might exceed yours, and you actually ride the wave of that because you took care of them, and they will look to take care of you. But if you don't, I promise you, your child will not, based on how you treated them, treat you the way you want to be treated because you feel like you, my child, you owe me when I get older. No, they don't. But hear me clearly. Your children are your treasure.
Facts.
I'm sorry. Y'all heard all this stuff before. I'm so old fashioned. I'm just talking out my head. Y'all don't mind me. I'm just going to go on over here. And, I know this is just not, you know what? He's just talking and ranting. He's always waving his hands. He thinks he knows everything. Y'all stop having your children have these 2.3 children. Some of y'all being annihilated as a race because of it. I was just reading through my notepad. I don't think I meant to say that out loud. Well, let me repent because I did. But man shall not live by bread alone. If Yahweh gave you seed, he wants you to produce that seed. If Yahweh gave you eggs, he wants those eggs cooked. How about that?
Amen.
Man, it's just one person talking to me the rest of the day.
That is good. That is good.
Your children are your treasure. If you don't have them, and I'm gonna confess one more thing. I got 2 minutes.
Come on, confess.
You know, when you confess, the nosy people love your confessions. They're like, "Ooh, we got something on him." All right, listen. Here's the catch. Listen, I had I have 3 beautiful children, and I should have actually had 7. When I was much younger, not knowing I was under this teaching and indoctrination in my American system of life, under the eugenics program, which is still existing today, called Planned Parenting. And Planned Parenting is not Planned Parenting. But under that, they were inundating us in school and high school. And granted, you're not supposed to be having relationships and fornication. And I did all of that. But not wanting to, my actual partners wanted to. And I said partners. I was out there. I was out there sowing my royal oats. And I wasn't coming to America. I was already in it. And doing the responsible thing before you became a man and a child. You don't want to have a baby when you were in school and all this. I ended up having a great son. Love my son. But I also along the way had some others. And those parents of those children chose to not hinder their children's college growth. And 2 of them, told me that they just weren't going to have it. And I was cool with it because I was already paying support for one child. I was paying support for one child. I wasn't in the arrears. I was not ducking the system. I was the man because I had the child. I worked 2 jobs in high school and sold contraband. Okay. My point is, I still, knowing what I know now about the kingdom, regret that I allowed and did not fight more for the 4 that were taken from me through the process of the American system of eugenics, i.e. Planned Parenting, pushing children and or parents and families who may not have been married to not have children out of wedlock, particularly in the melanated arenas and demographics of our society. I don't know what would happen with 4 more children I could have raised with the stuff I know in my head. That's probably why y'all get so much information out of me, because the 4 I'm supposed to pour it into ain't here. That's what goes through my head every day.
My God.
Who would my children have been? The ones I got are fire. To have 7 like them, that's what I fight with every day. So when y'all hear me passionately talk about this, it ain't a game for me. And I can't go back in the past and make it different. We didn't know. We didn't know. We were sold a bill of lading that we didn't understand. We were told a narrative of the American dream, steeped in Christianity, and not realizing that none of the American dream matched the kingdom platform. But we was too busy living the American dream to live the kingdom. So, Father, we thank you again for the word. We live not by bread alone, but we live by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh, who is our Elohim. I grace this time, and I ask you that when part 3, as we conclude finding purpose, we had a little soapbox here we jumped on today. I hope that it doesn't offend any of the people listening, even in the replays. But Father, help us to edit it so that it can be effective in the nations that it will be carried to. I pray you that our heart for sharing this would be weighed before the disdain for how one feels about it being shared. Stops people from wanting to listen to it. If I've said anything that offends you, I repent. If I've said anything that inaccurately depicts you, Yahweh, our Elohim, Adonai, our Elohim, Ruach HaKodesh, our Elohim, I pray you now strike it from the record of your people in the memory, and allow only those things that do please you to marinate in the hearts and the souls of your people. This is earnestly my prayer. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh or Elohim. Help me to help your people find the purpose you placed in them to come into this world and do your bidding, that we might redirect our energies toward your purpose. This is earnestly our prayer in the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. We say it and we pray it. Amen.
Amen.
All right, everybody. I hope this has been a blessing to you. If it has, would you please do me a favor? Go on to VWJ Ministries on Facebook. Let's see if Facebook is serious about it. Because if they would ever sow into this ministry, we will make sure this ministry has a greater platform and more excellence, and the broadcasting is done in a greater way. If you would help us by going to VWJ Ministries on Facebook and hitting the page, liking it, following the page on Facebook, and then every post we make, whether it's a post about Sabbath, a post about a thought that VWJ Ministries has, or an actual broadcast like this, like that broadcast, make comments on that broadcast, make comments on those pictures, they tell us that gets them to a place to monetize us. Now, those of you who are on YouTube, you can do the same thing there. They tell me I'm close, but y'all got to help me. Would you please go to YouTube, VWJ Ministries on YouTube, hit and subscribe to the YouTube, hit the bell to be alerted when we go live, make comments in the threads, and that too, from a whole different entity, they say they might be interested in monetizing us as well. I never applied for any of this. They just put it in our emails. I'm asking you, I think it's worth it. If you do, you'll do it. If you don't, you won't. I'm not mad at you. Keep coming back. We'll just see what can happen. Yahweh can do it. Only Yahweh can do it. We're not asking you for anything other than a couple of keystrokes. We don't want you to open up your wallets and write no checks. We don't do that here. This broadcast came up before you ever knew it. It was here when you got here. It'll be here should you decide to leave until the day that Messiah returns. Trust me, I got this. But it's always good to get a little bit of help somewhere. So we ask you guys to do that. If you would, I love you to life eternal. Tonight's broadcast is going to be fire. Did y'all know what we're going to talk about tonight? Anybody know? Guess what we're going to talk about tonight on our Bible study tonight? Get it out the mud. Elohim did. Tonight on our Bible study tonight. So tonight I'm going to have with me as our special guest speakers and special guest participants, I'm going to have in a studio setting, I'm going to have Pastor and Prophet Roche, Pastor Mary Roche, and I also am going to have Evangelist Valerie Peacock on platform with us tonight. We're going to be sharing in a common area and a throw back and forth, a volley back and forth about issues of what happens when you get thrown into the mud. What happens when you are actually drugged? Your name is drugged in the mud. What happens when you get what we call stuck in the mud? We talked about last week when you're in the mud, building bricks of the mud to get out of the mud instead of succumbing to the mud and becoming non-effectual. Tonight, I want to help you understand, because many people are in the mud. And because you're in the mud, you think that you're done. You can't go anywhere. But the truth is, Elohim made everything you and I live off of from the mud. You're made in his image and in his likeness. So we need the mud to create. Are you really stuck in the mud? Is it a bad thing they drag you through the mud? Let's talk about brick building today. I'll see you tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, Linda Poole, that's more than interesting. It is inserting of his empowerment into your life. Well, y'all know that it's time for me to get out of here. Just remember, we have some other things going on. We're here every Thursday night for what we call and know as the Bible Book Club. I hope that you guys will join us here. We're in chapter 33. Y'all should be on your homework assignments as well in the Bible Book Club, because we're trying to figure out what the importance of the city of Shechem is. Do we know? Why is Shechem so important? Israel bought land over there. What's that all about? I want to make sure that you guys can learn and understand some things about what his word does. So we're going to magnify the word of Elohim in that hour on Thursdays. Don't forget, tonight we're going to be here. Tonight is going to be our regular Wednesday night Bible study. Hope you're going to show right here on the same channel, same stations. We want you to be here so you can learn. And then remember, every Friday we get the Torah rolling, because it starts what we know of, and you should understand, as the times that are in fact the Sabbath worship. So every Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are studying in Shabbat the words of Elohim. But of course, after Saturday comes Sunday. And Sunday is our morrow after Sabbath service. And we're teaching all things that we've learned from Sabbath to benefit the kingdom as to how to grow and learn and have a better relationship with the Father. Remember, we have so much to do to get ourselves aligned with his word. So we'll see you guys here tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Daraj Kingdom Ministries Network, right here on BWJ on Facebook and YouTube channels. Until we get a chance and opportunity to meet again, I want you to consider these things as we prepare our hearts to dismiss from this particular service. All right. Blessings on your lives. We'll see you guys there.
If you need truth, this is the place for you. Don't need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word is self-approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken.